The hunt for interesting exoplanets and life forms somewhere out there in the vast expanse of the universe keeps going. No stopping here. We're basically searching for a second Earth, a planet that's similar to our home, and where we could finally find some space friends. Hey, we're not picky. Any form of life is fine, even some bacteria-sized organisms. And this search has mostly been going on in the habitable zone around other stars. We call this the Goldilocks zone. That's a region where conditions are barely just right for liquid water to exist, whether we're talking about the surface of a planet or a moon. The hotter the star, the more space we get to explore, because its habitable zone spreads far away. And in terms of endless space that we yet know so little about, that's a lot of work. That's why we're fans of red dwarfs. There are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, and probably around 80% of them are red dwarfs. These tiny stars are much cooler than our Sun. It means that their habitable zones are much smaller and closer to the star, so we know better where to look for planets. They're circling around their central star, and at some point, bingo, there it is. They pass in front of it and block out some of its light. The Kepler Space Telescope has already helped us find thousands of planets using this method, and most of them are orbiting around red dwarfs. Some of these planets are similar in size to Earth, and many of them could have nearly 25 times more water than our entire planet. Let's move to these planets scientists discovered, though. I want to show you something special. So, you've heard of super-Earths, right? More massive than Earth, lighter than Neptune, can be made of rock, gas, or a mix of both. Some of them have thick atmospheres, while others have thin or no atmospheres at all. You may also have stumbled upon mini Neptunes by now, too. They're almost as big as Neptune, and unlike normal gas giants, they have solid cores. That way, they can support a dense atmosphere with water and some other chemicals necessary for life. There's also hot Jupiters. Those are pretty cool, but only if they're far away from us. You know that one annoying and unpredictable neighbor you can never get rid of or figure out what they're going to do? Yeah, that would be a hot Jupiter, with strong gravity that can destabilize the orbits of smaller planets or other space bodies in the system. If we had such a neighbor, there would be more comets and asteroids hitting our surface. Luckily, our Jupiter's a good and peaceful neighbor that minds his own business, at least for now. But let's leave all these and many other planets out there alone now. Imagine traveling around in your spaceship and coming across a giant eyeball just floating there in the darkness of space and staring at the central star of that solar system. It's not a monster. Hopefully, space friends we'll make in the future won't look that big and scary, so it won't blink or turn towards you as you come closer. It's actually a planet. A little bit bizarre, but still very cool. And yup, you guessed it right, we call such eyeball planets. Now, eyeball planets are surprisingly common. Plus, some normal planets can potentially turn into them too. Eyeball planets form when matter and dust accumulates around a star and gradually turns into a solid object. It starts spinning, and over time, the gravity of the star pulls on the planet and slows its rotation until it becomes tidally locked. That means one hemisphere always faces the star, while the other is in darkness all the time. Now, we have a good example of this phenomenon near us, too. Our moon makes a circle around Earth once a month. It takes the same amount of time to turn a single time on its axis. That way, we actually always see the same face of the moon. Who knows, maybe the other side is even prettier, if you like craters and stuff. So, one of the most interesting things about eyeball planets is their appearance. If they had water on their surface, the side facing the star would have clear, bright blue oceans, the ones we'd want to visit if we ever got a chance to go on an interstellar vacation. And the other side would be more for adventurers who like harsh and challenging surroundings. Since it's in constant darkness, it would most likely be very cold and covered in ice. We've discovered so many planets outside of our solar system in the last 30 years. Super-Earths are, of course, especially interesting. It seems that many of them are not that pleasant, since they're pretty hazy and cloudy. It means it's harder to spot any life there. But some scientists still think they're promising spots when it comes to finding life beyond our solar system. eyeball super-Earths would be a good start. These planets are probably covered in large oceans. On the cold half, where the eternal night reigns, you'd experience Arctic conditions. Brr, I feel cold just looking at this. But the day side is my jam. Plus, it sounds promising when it comes to finding life. You know, with all that sunlight, oceans and stuff. One of the good examples where scientists are looking for life is an eyeball super-Earth that lies in a habitable zone of the closest star to our solar system, called Proxima b. Its day side could even have conditions and an atmosphere to support some form of life. There could be a large deep ocean covering its surface. It could be really salty, but some forms of life could still survive there. Check out the Dead Sea on Earth. It's extremely salty, but some bacteria have still evolved to live there. And they're probably doing well, having their own world and all that. I mean, it's not crowded because there are no animals there. Fish that accidentally end up in the Dead Sea won't survive there for long. So, similarly, it's possible that bacteria or some other forms of life could exist in this potentially very salty ocean on Proxima b as well. But the open ocean on Proxima b could be tricky. On the dark side of the planet, the ocean could freeze, and sea ice could drift into warmer waters. That way, the ocean would cool, and more of it would freeze, even on the sunny side. The only way to prevent this global freeze-over would be an atmosphere with a lot of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. This kind of atmosphere would trap the heat from the planet's surface and wouldn't allow it to escape into space, like what happens with Venus, the hottest planet in our solar system. Without an atmosphere with greenhouse gases, the surface of Proxima b would be much colder, so it's possible that the planet would completely freeze over. The opposite scenario could also be possible. Warmer waters could serve as a transporter of heat from warm to cold regions. We don't know much about the conditions on the planet yet, so Proxima b could range from a frozen wasteland to a hot, hazy world, depending on many factors. So yeah, an eyeball planet within the habitable zone sounds promising, but its surface can still wildly range from a frozen desert to an endless ocean. Some experts believe that drifting sea ice might cool many exoplanets out there, and they can't turn into eyeball worlds. Instead, many just become sad, dark snowballs, completely covered in ice. A cool spot to spend your interstellar winter holidays, but not a place where you'd hope to find life, unfortunately. Some studies show that even Earth may have gone through some snowball stages many times in history. One of those happened around 2.2 billion years ago. I wasn't around. While the other one hit the planet 630 million years ago. During these phases, all of our beautiful oceans were covered with snow and sea ice. Perhaps even the continents were just thick ice sheets, at least on the surface. Alright, enough with the freezy icy stuff. I need some hot chocolate. Now picture a strange world where molten metal falls from the sky. A planet where it rains glass, sideways. A place where the winds are many times the speed of sound. Even though these planets sound like stuff from a nightmare, they do exist. Would you survive on any of them? Nope. But come on, let's see why. Now, brace yourself, and I mean it literally, because WASP 127b is terrifyingly windy. On Earth, our most powerful storms produce winds around 200 miles per hour. And even Neptune, the windiest planet in our solar system, tops out at about 1100 miles per hour. But on 127b, winds dash across the equator at a staggering 20,500 miles per hour. That's 35 times faster than a jet and faster than the speed needed to orbit the Earth. 127b orbits a star similar to our Sun, but it's super close to its parent star, only 4.3 million miles away. That's why it takes just 4.2 days to make a full orbit. The heat there is insane. Cloud tops reach 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, which is enough to melt almost, anything. And 127b is supermassive. Well, kind of. It's a gas giant with a diameter 1.3 times that of Jupiter, but only 1/6 of Jupiter's mass, which makes it a giant, hot, puffy balloon floating in space. The planet's atmosphere is so expanded that it's basically a boiling, raging storm globe completely unlivable. If you somehow ended up on 127b, survival would be, well, impossible. The winds would toss you around, the extreme heat would cook you, and the planet itself would offer no solid ground to stand on. You wouldn't be able to breathe, move, or survive even for a second in these extreme conditions. But shockingly, that's not the worst planet you could land on. Imagine a world where it literally rains iron. This is WASP-76b, a planet so close to its star that the day side scorches at over 4,300 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to vaporize metals into gas. The night side is cooler, but still a blistering 2,500 degrees. Such a temperature makes those metals condense into clouds and rain down, like molten malted milk balls falling from the sky. The planet orbits its star every 43 hours, and it's tidally locked, which means that one of its sides always faces the star. The winds on the planet are absolutely insane, blowing up to 11,200 miles per hour. They zoom across the planet, fueled by the extreme temperature difference between day and night. And 76b is huge. It's a gas giant twice the size of Jupiter. It's practically sitting on the edge of its star's outer atmosphere. Scientists say we don't fully understand the physics here. Eventually, this planet could spiral into its star, or radiation could strip away its atmosphere, leaving only a scorching rocky core. Now, a human on 76b wouldn't last a fraction of a second. The day side would instantly vaporize you, just like the night side. And don't forget about the winds. You'd be ripped apart before you even touch the ground. And iron rain would slam down around you like fiery pellets. Sounds like a place to avoid. Now, if you're looking for long-term real estate investments, avoid WASP-12b. This planet is over 1,300 light-years away in the Auriga constellation. It orbits its sun-like star extremely closely, completing one orbit in just over one Earth day, about 26 hours. The planet's surface temperature reaches nearly 4,600 degrees Fahrenheit. It is 40% more massive than Jupiter, but powerful tidal forces stretch it into a football shape. But the main problem is that the atmosphere of this planet has expanded to nearly 3 times Jupiter's radius and is being pulled onto the star. And that means the planet is slowly being destroyed. Astronomers think that in about 3 to 10 million years, the planet could be gone for good. They found a huge cloud of stuff flying off the planet, including chemicals never seen on other planets before. No one would survive on 12b. The surface temperature is hotter than molten lava or any furnace on Earth. Any protective suit would fail instantly. The atmosphere is being ripped away by the planet's star, so there's no breathable air, just superheated hydrogen and helium streaming away into space. Plus, the gravity is extreme, so moving there would be, well, impossible. In any case, you would be vaporized almost instantly before trying to take a step. But however bad this planet sounds, the next world on our list beats it, because it rains glass on this planet. HD 189733b, I'll just nickname it Bubba, is a truly terrifying place, just 64.5 light-years from Earth. It's a gas giant, slightly bigger than Jupiter, and about 11% wider. But don't let that fool you. This world is a nightmare. Winds roar across the planet at up to 5,400 miles per hour, which is about 7 times the speed of sound. Temperatures soar between 1,600 and 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt metal. The planet also spins incredibly fast, completing one orbit in just 2.2 days. It races around its star at roughly 341,000 miles per hour. Its cobalt blue color comes not from water, but from a scorching, hazy atmosphere filled with silicate clouds. These clouds can condense into glass, and the planet's hurricane-force winds likely fling it sideways, making the rain fatal. Bubba is a hot Jupiter, a huge gaseous planet racing in a tight orbit around its star. It's also one of the most extreme, hostile worlds astronomers have ever found. If you somehow ended up in this world, survival would be out of the question. The heat alone is lethal. Insane winds would slam you around. An umbrella wouldn't save you from glass raining sideways, which would shred you in seconds. In short, you wouldn't last a heartbeat in this inhospitable world. But there's a planet that makes almost every other world look tame. It's Gliese 436b. It's small for an exoplanet, roughly the size and mass of Neptune, but don't let that fool you. Its proximity to its star turns it into one of the most extreme planets we know. 436b orbits a red dwarf star just 2.5 million miles away. To put that into perspective, Mercury, the closest planet to our Sun, is nearly 36 million miles out. This means that 436b races around its star every 2 days and 15.5 hours. That's lightning fast. A year there is shorter than a long weekend on Earth. The surface temperature is a balming 820 degrees Fahrenheit, which doesn't sound too bad in comparison. But there's the twist. The planet is covered with ice. Now, that's not ordinary ice, though. This is Ice 7, a dense, crystalline form of water created under unimaginable pressure. Imagine water so tightly packed that instead of melting under extreme heat, it remains solid. Scientists call it burning ice, and it's a form of ice that Earth laboratories can only replicate under controlled conditions. The atmosphere of the planet is just as bizarre. The planet is mostly hydrogen, like a gas giant, but it contains 7,000 times less methane than expected. Instead, astronomers find a surprising amount of carbon monoxide, which shouldn't survive in such heat. To make it even stranger, 436b is losing its atmosphere. The planet is wrapped in a huge cloud of hydrogen, probably pushed out by the strong gravity from being so close to its star. This cloud is 50 times bigger than the star itself. Unlike a comet's tail, it doesn't get blown away. It follows the planet. Astronomers think that 436b has already lost up to 10% of its atmosphere. Now, if a human, like you, somehow landed on Gliese 436b, survival would be impossible from the first second. The surface temperature is hot enough to vaporize skin and incinerate anything exposed. The gravity is crushing because the planet is dense and packed tightly with matter, which would make a person feel like trying to lift a car with every step. Even worse, can it get worse? Yes. The atmosphere is mostly hydrogen with high levels of carbon monoxide. Breathing would be instantly toxic, and a single inhale would shut down your lungs. And that burning ice is so solid under pressure that even if you somehow avoided the heat and toxic air, the ground itself would be a strange, brittle, crystalline surface that could fracture or collapse underfoot. Add to that the planet's rapid orbit. Completing a full year so fast means winds and atmospheric currents are extreme. No shelter, no suit, and no parachute could protect you. In short, you would be instantly boiled, crushed, and poisoned, all while the strange, dense ice underfoot refuses to melt. Well, bye-bye. This planet, yeah, the one right here, shouldn't exist, but it does. A newly discovered planet rotates around a star that's much smaller and dimmer than our Sun. The planet, however, is enormous. Such a tiny star couldn't create it, so it's like finding an ostrich egg in a chicken coop. A team at Penn State built a special tool called the Habitable Zone Planet Finder. It's an instrument that's supposed to find planets around dim, cool stars. It's connected to a big telescope in Texas. The tool looks at the light from these stars, which is mostly in the near-infrared, beyond what our eyes can see. This gadget can spot changes in a star's speed caused by a planet. If the star movement slightly changes, that means there must be a gravitational pull nearby. Years ago, this technique helped find the first known exoplanet around a star like our Sun. Today, we've improved this method to make more precise measurements. Our main goal is to find Earth-like planets. They should be rocky and located in habitable zones, areas around stars where liquid water could exist. The Doppler technique isn't that great at finding Earth-like worlds yet, but works well for cool, dim stars. And that's how we discovered the impossible LHS 3154b. Planets usually form in disks made of gas and dust in space. Picture a flat, spinning cloud of tiny particles. These particles come together and stick to each other, creating a flat, rotating disk. Over time, these tiny bits combine to form a solid core. This is the starting point for a planet. Once the core is there, it attracts more dust and even gas like hydrogen and helium. But making a planet this way isn't easy. They need a lot of stuff, mass, and materials. This process is called core accretion. Stars are a huge help in that process. Usually, big stars have more gravity, so they can gather more stuff to form planets. But the star we discovered recently isn't very big. It's 9 times smaller than our Sun. A star this small shouldn't have a big enough disk to make a heavy planet. To do that, its disk should have been at least 10 times bigger. But this heavy planet, LHS 3154b, exists. Now, this mysterious planet is 13 times heavier than our Earth. It's similar in size to Neptune. It's about 50 light-years away from us in the Hercules constellation, which, in space terms, is very close. The planet is also super close to its star, completing 1 year in almost 4 days. This discovery is making scientists rethink their ideas about how planets and stars come into existence. There are new theories coming around. For example, a theory called gravitational instability. It says that, instead of the pieces coming together bit by bit, the material in the disk collapses all at once, directly creating a planet. But even with this theory, it's hard to explain how such a heavy planet could form without a really massive disk. It'll take us some time to figure out the truth. This isn't the first planet that makes us doubt our theories. Recently, scientists found another planet called Hala. This planet is orbiting a star called Baekdu, and just like the previous one, it shouldn't really exist. It's way too close to its star. Stars change a lot during their lives. Normally, when a star becomes big and prepares to leave this world, it's called the red giant stage. A star like that tends to destroy or push away any nearby planets, creating a huge mess. Hala rotates around a red giant, and it should have been swallowed or destroyed by the expanding star a long time ago. But it's still hanging there. Even though Baekdu has already started burning helium and shrunk to a smaller size than expected, Hala isn't bothered in the slightest. Scientists call Hala the Forbidden Planet. This discovery challenges what we thought about how planets survive near aging stars. It raises 2 theories. One suggests that Baekdu was once 2 stars, a white dwarf and a red giant. Hala orbited them both, and they merged before the red giant fully expanded. This allowed Hala to survive because the extra helium from the white dwarf prevented the red giant from growing too much. The second theory says that Hala formed from the debris created when the 2 stars merged. In this scenario, Hala would be a very young planet orbiting an elderly star. Astronomers plan to continue studying Hala and look for more planets like that. Another oddball, besides me, is called LTT 9779b. This one scares us too because it's too shiny. The planet reflects 80% of the light from its star. Regular mirrors reflect from 85 to almost 100% of light, which means that this mysterious planet should look like a rough mirror, with aluminum or silver-like reflections. This is another Neptune-sized planet. It's located 268 light-years from us and was discovered by NASA's TESS spacecraft. It completes a full rotation around its star in just 19 hours. It's so close to its star that it's scorching hot, reaching temperatures over 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Normally, planets this close lose their atmosphere and turn into bare rocks. But this one breaks the rules again. Now this time, we know the secret of its survival. It's because of the planet's shiny metallic clouds, which are made of glass and titanium salt. These clouds rain titanium onto its hot surface. They also reflect a lot of the light, preventing the planet from getting too hot and losing its atmosphere. It's like having a mirror shield. This planet's size also surprised scientists. It's way bigger than Earth. Other planets this close to their stars are either much bigger gas giants or small rocky planets. This planet is a smaller gas giant, and scientists didn't expect it to exist so close to its star. This is the shiniest planet ever found, even shinier than Venus. But despite its cool appearance, it's probably not a friendly place for life because of its extreme temperatures and strange metallic rain. And our final rule breaker is a planet called WASP 107b. Scientists discovered it using the James Webb Space Telescope. It's located around 208 light-years from us in the Virgo constellation. It's also fast and completes an orbit around its star in just 6 days. This is a super-Neptune exoplanet. It's similar to Jupiter in some ways, including the same size and scorching hot temperatures. But the main difference is that it's much lighter, weaker, and less dense. This is the least dense planet we've discovered so far. After researching some more, we also found that it has a tail. The helium on the planet extends beyond the transit egress. The planet is slowly losing its atmosphere due to extreme ultraviolet radiation from the star. This creates a comet-like tail. So, it looks like a fluffy comet. But that was just the beginning. The planet's low density, or fluffiness, allowed astronomers to study its atmosphere in detail. They found some surprising things, like water vapor and clouds made of fine silicate particles, which are like really fine-grained sand. The planet's host star doesn't emit a lot of high-energy light. But since WASP-107b is so loose, the light can penetrate deep into its atmosphere. This creates sulfur dioxide that smell when you light a match. In other words, it's a fluffy planet that rains sand and smells like matches. The researchers think the sand clouds in the atmosphere form in a similar way to clouds on Earth. They just have droplets of sand instead of water. These sand droplets condense, fall, turn into silicate vapor in hot layers within the planet, and then rise again to form clouds once more. And, once again, this planet couldn't have formed in its current spot. Astronomers say that it likely moved closer to its star from a birth orbit because it was attracted by some heavier neighbor. It also follows a retrograde orbit, meaning it orbits in the opposite direction to its star's rotation. All these discoveries are changing how we understand planets and their atmospheres, giving us new insights into the mysteries of our own solar system.
At the edge of our solar system, there's a cold and mysterious region known as the Oort cloud. It's a hypothetical vast area of icy space objects surrounding the Sun. It's believed to lie far, far away from our star, from 2,000 to 5,000 astronomical units. For comparison, Pluto's orbit carries the planet between 30 and 50 astronomical units from the Sun. And there, in this freezing emptiness, a rogue planet may be hiding right at the moment. At least, that's what new research has recently suggested. Rogue planets are called this way because they don't orbit around any star. They wander the galaxy alone, totally untethered. Without stars, they don't have days or nights, only eternal darkness. Rogue planets are usually kicked out of their planetary systems, doomed to a solitary existence of circling the center of the galaxy on their own. Of the thousands of planets scientists have detected outside of our solar system, only a dozen or so are starless and cruising on their own. At the same time, there might be billions or even trillions of rogue planets wandering around our galaxy. If these estimations are true, it might mean that the Milky Way contains more free-floating planets than stars. Anyway, in 1907, one astronomer started a search for Planet X. It's a hypothetical giant planet moving around the Sun beyond the orbit of Neptune. The scientist was convinced that this planet existed because he had observed some irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. His idea led to the discovery of Pluto in 1930. But the dwarf planet was too small to have any serious gravitational impact on the orbit of Neptune, let alone Uranus. These days, the Planet X theory is largely considered to be discredited, but it hasn't stopped astronomers from searching for planets in the far reaches of our solar system. And shockingly, a new study claims there might be one or even more out there, but much, much further away than predicted. An international team of scientists has recently simulated the unstable celestial mechanisms of the early solar system. They've discovered that there's a possibility that a few planet-sized bodies might have come to rest in the Oort cloud. You see, about 4.5 billion years ago, when the solar system was just forming, it was a hectic and unsettled place. Gravity sent debris from the cooling protoplanetary dust cloud hurtling around like cosmic tennis balls. From time to time, large chunks of this debris, even planet-sized ones, were sent flying far enough to escape the sun's gravity altogether. Such pieces of debris turned into rogue planets. Researchers have seen such space wanderers in distant exoplanetary systems, but according to them, there's a 0.5% chance that one or more of those wayward planets formed in the solar system and ended up in the Oort cloud after drifting away from the sun. At the same time, it's slightly more likely that a rogue, Neptune-like planet was snagged by the sun's gravity from another planetary system, and then this planet came to rest somewhere in the Oort cloud. The chances that this scenario is true reach 7%. If this turns out to be the case, then a space body similar to Planet X might indeed be hiding out there, on the outskirts of our solar system. The only problem is that it would still be too far away to have any impact on Neptune's orbit. In any case, most researchers are convinced that the Oort cloud is made up of a collection of way smaller icy objects. But given the distance to the Oort cloud and its enormous size, we may never really figure out what is lurking out there.
So, planets with two suns, like Tatooine from Star Wars, used to sound like pure fantasy. For decades, scientists believed these systems were too unstable to exist. Two stars tugging at a planet should fling it into space or drop it into one of the suns. Except, it turns out that nature didn't get the memo. Astronomers have found a planet calmly orbiting two stars like it's no big deal. This planet lives closer to its two parent stars than any other directly imaged planet in a binary star system astronomers have ever seen. Now, direct imaging means they saw the planet's light, not just its shadow. The whole system sits about 446 light-years away, so the light we see from it today left before humans ever built modern cities. This space monster is roughly 6 times the mass of Jupiter. And even more surprising, the planet is only about 13 million years old. That sounds ancient until you zoom out a little. Earth is about 4.6 billion years old, which makes this planet basically a newborn in cosmic terms. The two suns of this monster orbit each other incredibly fast and complete a full loop in just 18 Earth days. That means their gravity constantly shifts, yanking space around them like a cosmic washing machine. Even so, the planet stays locked in its path, so it takes it 300 Earth years to finish a single orbit. So nobody fully understands how this planet formed in the first place. When two stars orbit each other this closely, their gravity usually tears apart planet-forming material before anything big can take shape. Scientists have only found a few dozen planets like this so far, and that's nowhere near enough to piece together the full story. To solve the mystery, they need more data. Now, another cool find that still needs more research is a planet so stretched by gravity that it looks like a lemon, not a sphere. This planet is nothing like the calm blue and green worlds we see in space movies. It orbits a pulsar, which is basically a star's corpse. When a massive star expires, it collapses into an ultra-dense object that spins insanely fast and blasts radiation like a cosmic lighthouse. Being near one of those means game over for anything solid. And yet, this planet hangs on, barely. The gravity stretches it, pulling harder on the side facing the pulsar than the far side, like cosmic taffy. And here's where it gets extra unsettling. When scientists analyzed this planet's atmosphere, they didn't find water or oxygen. They found helium and pure carbon. No clouds, no oceans, no chance of life. According to everything we know about planet formation, this world shouldn't exist at all. So it might not be a planet in the normal sense. It could be the exposed core of a star that got shredded, leaving behind something stuck between planet and stellar corpse. That's a pretty scary trend. The line between planets and stars keeps getting blurry. And speaking of scary, meet this guy. This system lives around 2 red dwarf stars. These two stars orbit each other at a distance similar to how far Jupiter sits from the Sun. Scientists found two Earth-sized planets and a third possible one squeezed right up next to the stars. One planet completes a full year in just over 2 days. Another takes about 3.5 days. The candidate planet orbits even faster. To put that in perspective, these planets sit less than 2 million miles from their star. The Moon sits about 250,000 miles from Earth. So yeah, these worlds are close. When they combined data from space and ground-based telescopes, astronomers realized they were staring at something totally new: planets that transit or pass in front of both stars. Most planets in double-star systems orbit only one star, and this setup shouldn't last long according to the rules of physics. But these planets exist anyway, calmly breaking the rules. So this guy proves that planet formation works in ways we still don't fully understand, and space clearly enjoys messing with our expectations. Now, let's crank up the horror a notch. Astronomers made the first ever 3D map of a planet outside our solar system. And not just any planet. This one is so hot it literally tears water molecules apart. As the planet moved behind its star, the James Webb watched tiny changes in the star's light at different colors or wavelengths. Some colors get absorbed by water vapor, others don't. By stacking all that info together, scientists figured out temperatures at different heights and locations in the planet's atmosphere. And that's how they learned that parts of its atmosphere heat up to nearly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than molten lava. This superhot planet sits about 400 light-years away and weighs around 10 times as much as Jupiter. It races around its star in just 23 hours. 1 year there is basically a day. And because it's so close, the temperatures get so high. Winds try to move heat around, but they totally fail. WASP-18b's atmosphere barely has any water and instead overflows with carbon monoxide. Astronomers once believed water should be common in giant planet atmospheres. This world proves water is optional, not guaranteed. Now, magma worlds are another perfect proof of that. There's a huge group of planets called sub-Neptunes, planets bigger than Earth but smaller than Neptune. For a while, some scientists hoped these worlds were Haitian planets, covered in deep oceans of water or ice, wrapped in thick atmospheres. One famous example was K2-18. Its atmosphere showed methane and carbon dioxide, but almost no ammonia. But as it turned out, lava dissolves ammonia too, so the missing ammonia doesn't prove water at all. It could just mean the planet has a global ocean of magma instead. The researchers modeled how these planets heat up, cool down, and evolve over time. They asked a simple question: do these planets ever cool enough to stop being lava worlds? And the answer was almost never. When they tested thousands of known sub-Neptunes, they say almost all of them are likely lava worlds, not water worlds. In simple terms, these planets don't breathe water vapor, they breathe rock vapor. Their atmospheres come from magma boiling, not oceans evaporating. And that changes everything. Many worlds we once labeled maybe habitable turn into hellscapes the moment you run the numbers honestly. And that means space isn't hiding Earth clones, but mass-producing furnaces and other sorts of monsters. Take this bad boy, for instance. It sits only about 64 light-years away, which is uncomfortably close in cosmic terms, and it's the nearest hot Jupiter to Earth. From afar, it looks stunning, a smooth, deep blue marble floating peacefully in space. But that color hides something absolutely brutal. On this planet, it rains glass, sideways. Winds scream across the atmosphere at around 5,400 miles per hour, fast enough to shred anything instantly. The blue color comes from tiny particles of silicate, the stuff glass is made of, floating in the air. The planet's surface temperature hits about 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt rock. That heat turns those silicates into microscopic shards of glass that whip around the planet like a worldwide sandblaster. Standing there wouldn't hurt. You wouldn't exist long enough to ever feel it. And then there's the darkest planet ever found. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. It's darker than coal, darker than black paint. Light just disappears into it. Not all planets even bother with stars at all. Astronomers have found rogue planets, worlds kicked out of their solar systems. These lonely planets drift through space in total darkness, frozen and untethered, with no sunrise ever again. Now, all of this shows us that our universe isn't designed for life. Life survives despite the universe, not because of it. Earth isn't typical, it's lucky. We're only at the beginning of this discovery era. Every year, new telescopes sharpen the picture, and every year, the picture gets stranger. The more clearly we see the universe, the less it resembles our imagination. And that's the most unsettling truth of all.
A massive hidden planet may be moving somewhere beyond Neptune right now. Scientists still haven't seen it directly, but multiple studies suggest something enormous is affecting the outer solar system through gravity alone. And immediately, one ancient name started spreading online again: Nibiru. According to one of the most controversial theories on the internet, Nibiru is a hidden planet connected to the mysterious Anunnaki, powerful beings described in ancient Sumerian texts thousands of years ago. Some people believe this object periodically enters the inner solar system, and that ancient civilizations may have known about it long before modern astronomy existed. Normally, theories like this would be ignored completely. But the problem is that astronomers really are searching for an undiscovered planet right now. The story starts far beyond Pluto, in the outer edges of the solar system. Over the last several years, scientists noticed something strange about the orbits of distant icy objects beyond Neptune. Instead of moving randomly, several objects appeared clustered together in ways that suggested the gravity of a much larger unseen body might be affecting them. This eventually led researchers to propose the existence of a possible hidden world known as Planet 9. Some estimates suggest this object, if it exists, could be between 5 and 10 times more massive than Earth and orbit hundreds of times farther from the Sun than our planet does. At that distance, it would reflect almost no sunlight, making direct detection extremely difficult even for modern telescopes. And that is exactly why the Nibiru theory exploded again online. Because according to older alternative theories, ancient civilizations already knew about a hidden planet long before scientists started discussing Planet 9. The civilization most often connected to this mystery is the Sumerians. More than 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians built one of the earliest advanced civilizations in human history in Mesopotamia. They developed writing, mathematics, astronomy, large cities, and detailed mythological systems. Within many of their ancient stories appear references to powerful beings called the Anunnaki. Mainstream historians interpret the Anunnaki as mythological deities connected to creation stories, kingship, and religion. But alternative interpretations claim these beings came from the sky and were associated with a wandering planet called Nibiru. According to the theory, the Anunnaki periodically traveled between Earth and this hidden world. The idea became especially popular because of certain ancient carvings and symbols. Some Sumerian artwork appears to show celestial patterns, unusual objects, and star imagery that internet theories often describe as evidence of advanced astronomical knowledge. One of the most famous examples involves the so-called Sumerian bags, strange handheld objects carved into stone reliefs thousands of years ago. Similar shapes also appear in unrelated ancient cultures, which only made the mystery grow online. Supporters of the Nibiru theory claim these symbols represent lost knowledge connected to the Anunnaki. The most extreme versions of the story go even further. Some claim the Anunnaki genetically altered early humans, helped build early civilizations, or left encoded astronomical information hidden inside myths and ancient texts. There is no scientific evidence supporting those claims. But what makes the theory difficult to completely dismiss online is the strange overlap between ancient mythology and modern astronomy. Because scientists really are searching for a large unseen object in the outer solar system. And every time new research about Planet 9 appears, the Internet immediately reconnects it to Nibiru. At the same time, astronomers continue finding unusual objects beyond Neptune. Some dwarf planets and icy bodies follow orbits that still do not have perfect explanations. Researchers believe a hidden planet remains one possible answer. Powerful observatories are currently scanning deep space, searching for faint movement patterns that could finally reveal whether Planet 9 exists. So far, nothing matching the dramatic descriptions of Nibiru has ever been confirmed. No giant rogue planet is heading toward Earth. No evidence of extraterrestrial visitors has been discovered in ancient Mesopotamia. But the theory refuses to disappear for one reason. An ancient civilization described powerful beings descending from the heavens. Modern astronomers believe another massive world may still be hidden somewhere in the darkness beyond Neptune. And for millions of people online, those two stories became connected in a way that is now impossible to separate.
Across millennia, scattered among clay tablets, sacred scrolls, and whispered myths, humanity has preserved haunting tales of a celestial anomaly, a rogue planet, a cosmic saboteur whose rare appearance heralds disaster and upheaval. The Sumerians called it Nibiru, the planet of crossing. Egyptians feared it as the destroyer. Biblical texts knew it as the wormwood star. Are these merely the colorful myths of ancient peoples, or are they fragmented memories of an all-too-real cosmic threat? Modern science, once quick to dismiss such legends, is now forced to reconsider. In 2016, astronomers Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown from Caltech presented mathematical evidence suggesting the existence of a massive planet at the far edge of our solar system, Planet 9. Their calculations describe a world 5 to 10 times the mass of Earth, on a highly elongated orbit that takes between 10,000 and 20,000 years to complete a single revolution around the Sun. Here's where ancient myth and modern astrophysics begin to blur. Sumerian cuneiform tablets, dating as far back as the 4th millennium BCE, contain astonishingly accurate astronomical data. They describe a solar system of 12 celestial bodies, including a mysterious 12th planet, Nibiru. How did ancient people know about Neptune, discovered only in 1846, or Pluto in 1930? Were they simply guessing, or did they remember something we've forgotten? One of the most controversial voices in this debate is researcher Zecharia Sitchin. He spent decades interpreting ancient Mesopotamian texts and proposed a radical theory that Nibiru is a habitable world with a sweeping elliptical orbit, home to an advanced race known as the Anunnaki, beings who once visited Earth. Mainstream academia has rejected Sitchin's translations, but the uncanny parallels between his claims and recent astronomical findings are hard to ignore. Let's focus on what the data tells us. Something is warping the orbits of distant objects in the Kuiper Belt, a vast icy region beyond Neptune. These objects behave as if being shepherded by a massive, unseen force. The dwarf planet Sedna, for example, follows a wildly unusual orbit that can't be explained by known gravitational influences. And then there's the Kuiper Cliff, an abrupt drop-off in the number of objects beyond 50 astronomical units. What's causing it? Something or someone. These anomalies have left astronomers scratching their heads and have fueled growing speculation that a massive, unseen planet is hiding in the dark outskirts of our solar system. ancient texts from multiple civilizations describe apocalyptic upheavals linked to a celestial intruder. The Egyptian Ipuwer papyrus eerily recounts plagues and chaos. The river is blood, the earth turned upside down, days are shrouded in darkness. The Babylonian Epic of Era speaks of a time when the stars left their appointed paths. These aren't just poetic metaphors. They're historical shockwaves echoing from a forgotten trauma. So what happens if Nibiru, or Planet 9, makes its next approach? Even without a direct collision, the consequences could be catastrophic. Its gravity might tilt Earth's axis, triggering sudden climate shifts. It could awaken tectonic fault lines and stir dormant volcanoes. Disturbed asteroid belts might send deadly space rocks hurtling toward us. It could disrupt our magnetosphere, disabling electronics and satellites. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this theory is the cycle. Sumerian texts suggest that Nibiru returns roughly every 3,600 years. If this is true, its last passage might have occurred around 1600 BCE, a time curiously aligned with the collapse of Bronze Age civilizations, a period marked by mass migrations, natural disasters, and inexplicable cultural decline. Was this coincidence or consequence? The clock might be ticking again. Today, the hunt for Planet 9 continues, using the world's most powerful telescopes and cutting-edge simulations. We stand on the edge of either confirming the greatest myth ever told, or revealing that ancient peoples tried, in the only language they had, to warn us. It may not bear the name Nibiru. It may not carry golden tablets or alien emissaries. But if it exists, its return will reshape everything we think we know about history, science, and our place in the cosmos. One thing is certain, our solar system is far from tamed. It harbors secrets in its coldest, darkest corners, riddles older than civilization itself. And perhaps, just perhaps, the old stories were never stories at all. Maybe they were prophecies. Maybe they were the echo of survivors. Maybe the star of change is already on its way.
For thousands of years, people knew only about the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which they could see using simple telescopes, or even by the naked eye if conditions were good. But in the late 18th century, a famous astronomer named Sir William Herschel discovered a new planet that was icy blue in color. At first, people thought it was a star, but later they realized it was a planet. Today, we know it as Uranus, a planet that's more than 19 times farther away from the Sun than Earth. It's so far away that it takes Uranus 84 years to complete one trip around the Sun. This astronomer also discovered many other interesting things in space, like double stars and nebulae. In the mid-1800s, scientists noticed something pulled Uranus and strangely tugged its orbit. They thought there must be another planet out there, and they used math to predict where it would be. Finally, in 1846, they found Neptune using a telescope. It was too faint to see with the naked eye because it was too far away from the Sun. It was all so exciting. Who knows how many other planets could be there, lurking in the darkness of our solar system? Back in the mid-1800s, astronomers noticed something unusual was happening in the sky. A small rocky planet named Mercury was behaving strangely. It didn't follow the predictable orbit that was expected of it. One of the astronomers was a brilliant French scientist named Urbain Le Verrier. He came up with a theory that there could be another planet in our solar system no one had yet discovered. It would be located somewhere between Mercury and the Sun. This hypothetical planet, which he named Vulcan after the Roman god of fire, would have an incredibly hot surface, and it could be a potential explanation for Mercury's strange behavior. He never surely claimed Vulcan was really the one thing disturbing the orbit of Mercury. But, excited by the possibility of discovering a new planet, astronomers all over the world took the idea of Vulcan. For a planet that didn't exist, people committed to developing ideas and getting information about it. Some scientists didn't think it was likely that they had missed another planet as big as Mercury. It would have been hard not to see it by then. But there was a tiny chance of a smaller planet existing inside Mercury's orbit that was too close to the Sun, so no one could see it. One theory said it was about 13 million miles away from the Sun. Mercury is the planet with the most eccentric orbit in our solar system, but the closest point it gets to the Sun is about 28.5 million miles. This means Vulcan would be under half of that distance. The theory moved on, saying that if Vulcan existed, it would orbit the Sun every 19 days and 18 hours, and its path would be tilted about 12 degrees relative to the path of other planets in our solar system. Vulcan's position at its furthest point from the Sun would still be too close to the Sun to be seen with the naked eye, even during twilight. The only chance of seeing Vulcan would be during a solar eclipse, or when it passed in front of the Sun, which, as the theory said, would be 2 to 4 times a year. They had a theory that this mysterious planet was so close to the Sun that it could only be seen during a total solar eclipse when the moon blocked out the Sun's blinding glare. So, every time there was an eclipse, scientists would peer at the Sun, hoping to catch a glimpse of Vulcan. They were trying really hard, but no matter what, they couldn't find this mysterious planet. Some astronomers claimed to have spotted it during eclipses, but no one could ever confirm or find evidence for that. The theory of Vulcan was left waiting for some better times. Einstein had a different idea. You know about his theory of general relativity, right? That's where he claimed gravity wasn't some sort of natural force, but a result of space-time curved because of the presence of giant space objects, like planets and stars. Planets circle around the Sun in their usual orbit because space-time is curved. That means the planets are kind of falling towards the central star of our solar system. And Einstein tried to explain Mercury's unusual orbit using his own theory of relativity. Unlike the other planets in our solar system, Mercury's orbit wasn't that circular. Instead, it seemed to wobble slightly, as if there was an invisible force pulling it away. Einstein said this could be happening because the massive gravity of our Sun was actually curving the fabric of space-time around it. He claimed it's possible this changed Mercury's orbit a little bit. It took the scientific community a while to test this theory, but it eventually seemed like the most plausible explanation. Even though Einstein's theory gave us a more elegant explanation for Mercury's strange orbit, some scientists were still holding out hope for Vulcan. It was especially hard to let go of the idea of Vulcan because Mercury is also the planet that's really hard to see from where we're standing. But later, more and more scientists started accepting Einstein's theory above their imagination. And they would observe a total solar eclipse specifically to test Einstein's theory of relativity, not because of Vulcan. And Vulcan is not the only hypothetical planet everyone was talking about. In the newer age, some believe there could be a mysterious planet lurking in the outer part of our solar system. But this one is more likely to exist. No one has seen it directly yet, but computer simulations show this so-called Planet 9, or Planet X, is probably somewhere there beyond Neptune. Neptune and Planet X could be similar in size. Planet X could be 10 times more massive than Earth and circles around our Sun in an elongated shape, which is on average 20 times farther from the Sun than Neptune. A year there may last between 10,000 to 20,000 Earth years. By comparison, a year on Neptune lasts 165 Earth years. Something this big moving out there beyond Neptune could explain the unusual orbits of smaller objects in the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt is the area of our solar system beyond Neptune and where it orbits. And there are most likely many asteroids, comets, and some other smaller bodies there, mostly made of ice. There was another hypothetical planet called Nibiru. Remember those rumors that the world could end back in 2012? One of the popular scenarios was Nibiru, which some claimed would hit our home planet at the end of the year. Of course, nothing happened. We're still here, all set and good, but the idea of Nibiru seemed interesting. Stories started in the 1970s when a man named Zachariah Sitchin mentioned Nibiru in his book, The 12th Planet, claiming it orbits the Sun every 3,600 years. But there's no chance a planet with such an eccentric orbit wouldn't disrupt other planets in our solar system with its gravity. And if it was really coming that close to Earth in 2012, we were supposed to be able to see it with the naked eye. Some simple calculations showed Nibiru would have been nearly as bright as Mars at its dimmest and brighter than the faintest stars you see from a city. Oh well, maybe we'll have more luck in the next 3,500 and something years. In 2011, a comet named Elenin appeared that many people thought could be Nibiru. But when you're looking at comets and planets through a telescope, you see they appear differently. A comet has a coma, which is a gas atmosphere, together with a tail, something a planet doesn't have. Plus, this comet didn't slam into the Earth. It came too close to our Sun and fell apart. The leftover pieces will continue moving on their way to the outer solar system for the next 12,000 years.
Attention, Earthlings! Yes, that would include you. Scientists have discovered a new member of the solar system. We officially have a new dwarf planet orbiting well beyond Neptune. But that's not all. Despite being small and unremarkable, this object, called 2017 OF201, I know it's a goofy name, might hold the key information about the speculated existence of Planet 9. Or, better said, it spoils the fun because instead of helping us find Planet 9, it could be the first tangible evidence that the theoretical ninth major planet was just that, a theory. But first, what exactly are dwarf planets? And why is this discovery so important? Well, in the early 21st century, researchers gained better telescopes and began discovering smaller, weirder celestial objects. It started with Eris in 2003, but the discovery of additional similar bodies led to Pluto losing its status as a, quote, true planet. To proudly carry the name of a planet, a space rock must check off 3 boxes. It must orbit the Sun, not another planet, like a moon would. It must be massive enough for its gravity to make it round. And it needs to be gravitationally dominant in its orbit. In other words, an object should be able to clear out most other objects in its path by absorbing them, slinging them away, or influencing them in some other way, like paying them off. Hey, just kidding. Imagine a giant, powerful truck driving in its own lane, pushing smaller cars aside. Hey, sounds like my commute. Although Pluto is orbiting the Sun and has the needed elliptical appearance, it's in the Kuiper Belt, a region full of icy objects. Because it can't clear its orbit, researchers realized that Pluto was not that different from many other similar bodies known as trans-Neptunian objects or TNOs. There are well over 5,000 known TNOs out there, with only 1,000 being officially numbered, meaning they've been studied enough to have their orbits confirmed. Now here's where it gets interesting. A while ago, scientists noted a pattern. Many of these minor planets shared similar paths and tilts. This inspired a theory that those objects were influenced by some still undiscovered Planet 9, also known as Planet X. The proposed super-Earth would have a mass 5 to 10 times greater than Earth's. It would orbit far on the outskirts, possibly as far as 500 astronomical units, and like an invisible puppeteer, manipulate the orbits of TNOs with its gravity. Some of these objects get classified as extreme trans-Neptunian objects. Let's just call them ETNOs for short. ETNOs are minor planets with an average distance of at least 150 astronomical units from the Sun. They have eccentric orbits, which can't be explained by the gravity of Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, or Jupiter. This led some scientists to conclude that Planet X must be out there. Ooh. As the years went by and more TNOs were discovered, Scientists began to notice that those newly found objects didn't follow the previously established patterns. Many TNOs and ETNOs discovered in the last 5 to 6 years didn't match the same orbital parameters. Of the 6,000 objects found orbiting beyond 30 AU from the Sun, many show no signs of being influenced by a hidden planet. Well, despite that, scientists still hesitate to admit that Planet X is just wishful thinking. Not only is discovering something new exciting, but a planet like that could also protect us by pulling in asteroids from deep space. It could help explain why our solar system looks so different from many others, where super-Earths and mini-Neptunes are common. It might even solve how the solar system was formed, how objects got scattered, and what's still hiding in the dark. Discovering Planet 9 wouldn't just be cool, it could reshape everything we know about the solar system. However, with the discovery of 2017 OF201, actually that's still a mouthful, let's call it OFI from now on. With the discovery of OFI, the whole Planet 9 theory seems to be on its last legs. So, what makes OFI so special, and how does it affect the idea behind Planet 9? The newly discovered member of our solar system is estimated to be about 430 miles in diameter. This places it in the dwarf planet category, certainly larger than many other trans-Neptunian objects, but still about 1/3 the size of Pluto. What stands out most is its elongated orbit around the Sun. It takes at least 25,000 years to complete one revolution. Its orbit brings it as close as about 45 astronomical units from the Sun, which is similar to Pluto's distance, and extends out as far as 1600 AU at its most distant point. This means it travels far beyond the Kuiper Belt and approaches the inner boundary of the Oort cloud. This orbit is not just extremely long, it's also highly eccentric, stretched out like a long oval. This puts it in a rare group of objects that travel to the most distant parts of our solar system. While there are objects with longer orbital periods, like comets that originate from the Oort cloud, they're much smaller than this newly discovered dwarf planet. But despite its relatively large size for such a distant object, ORPHY is nearly undetectable. It spends most of its time hidden from Earth's view, far from the inner solar system and too faint for current telescopes to spot. In fact, astronomers estimate it's only visible for about 1% of its 25,000-year orbit. In fact, this new dwarf planet came closest to the Sun in 1930, the same year Pluto was discovered, yet it slipped away unnoticed. Nobody spotted it back then, and it only got discovered in May 2025 completely by accident. By digging through archived data from publicly available telescopes, researchers pieced together its location from 19 separate images taken over 7 years. That's impressive detective work. So, what does all of this mean for Planet X? The archive photos have revealed that this object's orbit does not match any of the orbital clustering previously used to support the Planet 9 hypothesis. It doesn't belong to the same group as other ETNOs, and, more importantly, if a hidden planet is really tugging on celestial bodies, ORPHY should have been flung out of the solar system millions of years ago. If Planet 9 was where we speculated and had the predicted mass, then ORPHY's current orbit wouldn't last. It would likely be altered or even destroyed within about 100 million years. However, its orbit appears stable and undisturbed, suggesting it has been like this for far longer. But wait, you exclaim. If the mysterious orbit of ORPHY is not caused by an invisible giant planet, what else could it be? Well, space is full of surprises, and gravity isn't exclusive to planets. One idea is that the orbit has been stretched over time by galactic tides. Just like the Moon pulls on Earth's oceans, the Milky Way galaxy itself pulls ever so gently on everything in the solar system. It's a slow, steady force. But if you're far out enough, like ORPHY is, even that gentle tug can twist your orbit over millions of years. Now, another possible explanation could be that a passing star may have come to our solar system a long time ago, especially during its formation. Back when the Sun was young and surrounded by newborn stars, one could have passed close enough to give some outer objects a gravitational nudge. That kind of flyby could have easily yanked an icy object into a stretched-out tilted orbit. The third idea is that such unusual orbits are leftovers from the early solar system, when planets and debris were being flung all over the place. Some may have ended up in stable but extreme orbits, like Ophi, the dwarf planet. If something really is pulling on these distant objects from outside our solar system, something like the galaxy itself, then we lack models to explain it. It's remarkable that we've managed to spot Ophi in the first place. These objects only appear when close to the Sun, so we've likely seen just a fraction of what's out there. There could be hundreds or even thousands of similar rocks, all with strange orbits and mysterious origins. Which means the real mystery might not be a hidden planet, but the hidden world of space rocks quietly orbiting in the dark, waiting to be found. As scientists continue to explore the vast expanse of the universe, they've made some incredible discoveries that have left them with more questions than answers. From a scorching super-Earth to a football-shaped world, the exoplanet discoveries of 2022 are truly out of this world. So, hold on tight, the future of exoplanet discoveries is looking brighter than ever. Number 1. New type of exoplanets. Red dwarfs make up over 70% of all stars in space. So, in September of 2022, scientists decided to take a closer look at the small worlds orbiting them. What they found was amazing. New type of exoplanets that were made of half rock and half water, either in liquid or ice form. The researchers suggested that these planets likely arose from icy material and were born far away from their stars, past the ice line, where surface temperatures are freezing. But they later migrated closer in, to where the astronomers detected them. This discovery could have huge implications in the search for life in the cosmos. Though these planets are loaded with water, they might not be covered in oceans. Who knows? Maybe one of them will be the next Earth 2.0. Number 2. Jupiter-sized world. Imagine a planet so massive and mysterious, it's like a hidden Jupiter in our galaxy. Well, we just discovered one of those orbiting a star just 379 light-years away. Just. We've named it the TOI 2180b, and it's got everyone talking. Why? Well, for starters, this planet takes a whopping 261 days to orbit its star, which is much longer than most distant gas giants we've come across so far. But that's not all. The temperature on this world is surprisingly mild, averaging at a balmy 170 degrees Fahrenheit. For comparison, the temperature on Jupiter and Saturn is around minus 280 degrees. It's like a bridge between the giant exoplanets we've found and our Jupiter. But the question remains, how did this planet get to be so different? Scientists are still trying to figure that out. Let's hope that we get some answers soon. Number 3. The Hulk planet. This world is a place where the surface is covered in molten magma, and the year lasts just half a day. Welcome to TOI 1075b, an exoplanet that's been dubbed the planet Hulk by scientists. Located 200 light-years away, this super-Earth is one of the most massive ever discovered. Its proximity to its parent star causes its surface to reach scorching temperatures of 1922 degrees. It's so hot that any form of water would evaporate instantly, and the air would be filled with vaporized rock. But it's not just the heat that's impressive, it's also its size. TOI 1075b is nearly 10 times the mass of Earth, making it one of the most massive super-Earths ever discovered. But the mystery doesn't stop there. The planet's orbit takes just 14.5 hours, making it one of the shortest orbital periods ever recorded for a planet of its size. What an exciting addition to our catalog! Number 4. 3 doomed planets. Astronomers made a shocking discovery of 3 planets that are circling in a dangerous dance next to the slowly fading stars. Just a decade ago, scientists never even imagined such planets could exist. These gas giant planets, similar in size to Jupiter, orbit way too close to their slowly fading stars. They're basically walking on the edge. Take one of them, for example, dubbed TOI 2337b. Its orbit will likely send it hurtling straight into the fiery arms of its host star in less than 1 million years. Well, I won't be around then. As these stars enter their final days, they're pulling in nearby planets like a black hole, altering their orbits and potentially causing catastrophic collisions. And as these planets get closer to their stars, their atmospheres heat up and swell, leading to some mind-boggling differences in density. But despite the doom and gloom, studying these worlds could give us valuable insights into the evolution of our own solar system. Number 5. Planet with a barium's atmosphere. These are two hot blazing planets, each with an atmosphere made of the heaviest element ever found in an exoplanet, barium. These planets, known as WASP-76b and WASP-121b, are ultra-hot gas giants called superjupiters that orbit incredibly close to their stars. These planets are basically like giant balls of fire, with one side facing the star, cooking at temperatures hot enough to vaporize iron and other metals. But as the hot iron vapor is blown into the planet's cooler night side, it turns into liquid and falls as iron rain. And these planets held a special surprise for us. Barium is a heavy metal, about 2.5 times as heavy as iron. And yet, scientists were able to detect it in the upper layers of these planets' atmospheres. This is truly a mystery and a puzzle we're still trying to solve. Imagine landing on a planet like this and looking at this rain of iron and the heavy barium in its skies. That would be awesomely horrifying. Number 6. The Football Planet. Get ready to have your mind blown, space enthusiasts, because we've just discovered the ultimate football-shaped planet, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. Meet WASP-103b, the ultra-hot exoplanet that's more than 1,000 light-years away from Earth. This gas giant is so close to its parent star that its shape is being stretched by the intense gravitational forces. But this isn't just a fun shapeshifter. It's also a valuable scientific discovery. By studying the planet's passes across its star, we were able to measure its deformation for the first time ever. It's like taking a snapshot of a planet in motion, and it's giving us insights into the extreme conditions that these planets can endure. This is truly a great discovery. Number 7. A zodiacal light. Are you ready for a cosmic ghost story? Scientists and high school students in China have uncovered a spooky phenomenon on 3 distant exoplanets. It's called zodiacal light, a glow that's similar to the one seen here on Earth during sunset. But this isn't just some eerie light show. It could hold clues about the makeup of these potentially habitable worlds. Imagine watching the sunset from a dark spot on Earth, and instead of darkness, a triangle of light appears. That's zodiacal light. It's caused by sunlight reflecting off dust particles that fill the solar system, the remains of asteroids and comets. A team of researchers analyzed 47 potential habitable exoplanets named Kepler 69c, Kepler 1229b, and Kepler 395c, all super-Earths, had signs of this light. This discovery is more than just a spooky phenomenon. It could reveal information about the presence of asteroids and comets in these exoplanet systems, which could be difficult to detect otherwise. So that's pretty neat. Number 8. A planet with silicate clouds. Introducing VHS 1259b, not a home video recording system, but a strange and exotic world shrouded in mystery and wonder. A place where the clouds are made of sand and the sky is forever red. This isn't the stuff of science fiction, but a real-life discovery made by the brilliant minds at NASA. This is a brown dwarf exoplanet that's making waves in the astronomical community. It's way too massive for a planet, nearly 20 times the size of Jupiter, but it's not quite a star. It's something in between, a cosmic enigma that defies definition. But what's really crazy about VHS 1256b is its atmosphere. Scientists have discovered that this strange world is cloaked in thick clouds of silicate grains, similar to sand. It's the first time this kind of cloud has ever been detected on an exoplanet, and it's a discovery that's sure to change the way we think about the universe and the possibilities of life beyond our world. And there you have it, folks. The year 2022 was filled with incredible discoveries and groundbreaking findings in the world of exoplanets. But this is just the beginning, as scientists and researchers continue to explore the vast expanse of space. we can only imagine what other wonders await us. So, let's keep looking. Who knows what secrets the stars hold for us next?
How do people usually describe planets? Massive, freezing, boiling hot, seismically active. Let's admit it, shiny is not normally on the list. Unless we're talking about a world called LTT 9779b, which might be the shiniest planet we've ever seen. This exoplanet, which is basically any planet outside our solar system, is ultra hot and acts like a giant space mirror because it's covered with a thick layer of reflective metallic clouds. This unusual world is located about 264 light-years away from our planet. And the most amazing thing about it is that it reflects approximately 80% of all the light its parent star sends its way. For comparison, Earth reflects a mere 30% of the light it gets from the Sun. The bizarre exoplanet is even more reflective than the shiniest planet in the solar system, Venus, which reflects around 75% of sunlight due to its thick clouds. LTT 9779b is 5 times as large as Earth, which makes it the largest space mirror ever discovered. By the way, this world was found by NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite mission in 2020. But the highly reflective nature of the planet was uncovered later thanks to a follow-up investigation conducted by the European Space Agency Exoplanet Hunting Spacecraft, CHEOPS, which stands for Characterizing Exoplanet Satellite. Now, imagine a planet the size of our ice giant Neptune. It's a burning world floating close to its star. If you stepped on its surface and looked up, you'd see heavy clouds of metals floating over your head, raining down titanium droplets. The planet's size, coupled with its insane temperatures, allow astronomers to classify the planet as an ultra-hot Neptune. Now, a planet's high reflectivity is a quality known as albedo. And in the case of our shiny world, its albedo mystifies scientists. All because most planets that are not ice worlds, or planets with thick layers of reflective clouds like Venus, normally have low albedos. Their atmosphere or surfaces simply absorb the light coming from their stars, preventing it from getting reflected back into space. And initially, researchers were sure that LT 9779b would have a low albedo. After that, by no means was it an ice world. Not with the surface temperatures reaching 3,650 degrees Fahrenheit on the side of the planet permanently facing its parent star. It was supposed to be too hot for water clouds to form. Even clouds of metal or glass wouldn't be able to form in such a scorching climate. Astronomers expected a planet like that to have its atmosphere destroyed by its star, which would leave behind a lifeless, rocky world. That's why discovering metallic clouds was so unexpected. Of course, researchers were eager to find out how such clouds could have formed. It had remained a mystery until they decided to think about the cloud formation in the same way as condensation that appears in the bathroom after you take a hot shower. There are 2 ways to steam up your bathroom. You can cool the air until the water vapor condenses, or you can keep hot water running until clouds form. It will happen when the air in the bathroom becomes so saturated with vapor that it won't be able to hold it anymore. So, researchers came to the conclusion that most likely the atmosphere of the shiny planet became oversaturated with silicate at one point. And then, metal started vaporizing due to boiling hot temperatures on the permanent day side of the planet. But if you think that the reflective nature of LT 9779b is its only unusual feature, you might want to hear this. The exoplanet is an example of an extremely rare planetary type, and ultra-hot Neptune. Astronomers have been searching for such planets for decades, but those preferred to remain a mystery. The fact that the planet survived so close to its star might be linked to its high reflectivity. Some experts believe that the metal clouds covering the planet probably reflect light and prevent the planet from overheating and evaporating. Plus, such a highly metallic atmosphere is much heavier and harder to blow away than any other. Now, about 850 light-years away from Earth, a planet called WASP 121b orbits its star. This planet is a hot Jupiter, which means it's a gas giant moving very close to its star. And because of such a short distance, the planet is also insanely hot. The average day temperature there is around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Interestingly, just like our previous shiny world, this planet also has metallic clouds floating over its surface. But that's not the only oddity. WASP 121b has a bizarre oblong shape. Can it be because the planet is tidally locked to its star? It means that one of its sides always faces the star, while the other is always turned to the darkness of the cosmos. In other words, it's always daytime on one side of the planet and nighttime on the other, which causes crazy temperature differences. Researchers think it might be the reason for the metallic clouds. The water cycle on WASP 121b is also pretty bizarre, to say the least. On the illuminated side, the atoms that make up the planet's water get ripped apart by the insane temperatures. After that, they get blown by winds moving at 11,000 miles per hour to the other side of the planet. There, much lower temperatures allow the atom to recombine into water molecules. At the same time, the nighttime side is cold enough for metal clouds consisting of iron and corundum to form. When these clouds migrate to the daytime side of the planet, they vaporize and rain down metal on the planet's surface. But if these clouds don't seem impressive enough, I've got more. Astronomers predict that the planet will rip itself apart in the next several million years because of its incredibly fast winds and wild temperatures. Plus, the gravitational pull of the planet's parent star also plays its role in this dark prediction. Since WASP 121b is so close to the star, the star's gravity pulls the planet into a weird oblong shape and makes gases like iron and magnesium leak from the planet's atmosphere. This pull is so strong that the planet is always on the verge of a tidal disruption. If it ever happens, the planet will come apart for good, metallic clouds and all. Just 20 light-years away from the Sun, which isn't such a great distance when we talk about space, a bizarre rogue planet is roaming our home Milky Way galaxy. But even though this planet doesn't orbit any star, it still has an incredibly powerful magnetic field. It's 4 million times stronger than Earth's magnetic field. The exoplanet also produces amazing auroras. When it was discovered in 2016, astronomers were almost sure they had detected a brown dwarf, which is an object too large to be a planet and too small to be a star. But later, scientists got some proof that the space object wasn't big enough to be a brown dwarf. The planet sure is a mammoth among its peers. It's 1.2 times as wide as the largest planet of the solar system, Jupiter, and more than 12 times as heavy. Astronomers think the exceptionally strong magnetic field helps the planet produce the auroras. But the most curious thing is that they're generated in a different way than auroras on Earth. It might be because the exoplanet's moon helps the planet create these light shows. Another planet you probably shouldn't set foot on is WASP 76b. There, it rains iron on the night side of the planet, and the temperature on the daytime side rises up to 4,300 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to vaporize most metals. This exoplanet is a bit larger than Jupiter in terms of size and is located 640 light-years away from Earth. Such terrifying weather conditions in this world are caused by its unusual orbit. The distance between the planet and its parent star is 10 times shorter than the distance between Mercury and the Sun.